Hello, welcome to Threads FlossTube number 89. Thank you so much for joining me today. Got lots to talk about today, lots of updates on various things. So I've got a list written down here so that I can actually make sure that I put everything into this video that I would like to. So first of all, I had a class here in town last weekend. It was this project here, which is the Smoig framed panel or framed square or something or other like that from my Smoig book, and it was a fabulous class. We had only 5 participants, and that wasn't a bad thing because we've got lockdowns in Greater Sydney, which is not so far from us, but quite a lot of my students would often come from Sydney. Fortunately, this class was all regional participants and we're not in lockdown. So the class was able to go ahead, which I was absolutely thrilled about. So the fact that there were just 5 didn't worry me at all because I had a class that went ahead. So we had a great time together. They each did different amounts of their project, commensurate with their level of confidence and how quickly they took it on board. And you know, everyone does their stitching at different speeds. So there was one lady in the class who actually did a lot less than everyone else, but I was just as thrilled with what she got done because she found it difficult. And the fact that she got as much done as she did was fantastic. So I like to celebrate all my students' achievements, whether it's a huge amount of work that they've got done or a small amount, because each of them have made incredible gains to get where they've gotten. There were a couple in the class who used different colour schemes than what I did. So I've took a picture at the class of what everyone got done, and I'll add that into the video so you can see. It was really lovely to see the different colour schemes as they started to evolve. There was one lady who was really stitching on the fly. She'd chosen her background colour, for which I used the black. And then she had some other ones that she was using instead of the goldy colour, the blue and the pink. And she had to fiddle around with which ones she would wear. And she was reasonably happy with what she was getting in the end. So that was lovely to see. And there was another lady who chose to do the black, but instead of the blue and the gold and the pink, she'd chosen much stronger colours. So it was great to see that coming to life as well. So when you see any of my projects in my books, don't feel that you must do it exactly the same as mine. If you want to go ahead and change the colours and do something that's based on this but different, then go right ahead. These projects can be projects as they are, but they can also be jumping off points for something that you would like to try. So yeah, experiment if you want to. Now, I've also got a class that was going to be coming up at the end of August, and unfortunately I've had to cancel that class because so many of the participants were coming from places where they won't be able to get to here from. So while we're not in lockdown, others are, and there's borders closed, state borders, so people just can't get to me at the moment. So I offered the students a full refund, a refund of various things. They could take just the kit and do that in their own time, and then I also did offer that if they wanted to, they could do it as an online class with me. So this is going to become my online pilot class. I'm not accepting any extra students into that because I'm keeping it really small, just the ones who have said that they'd like to try it out, and I will see how we go, see what the format works for them, get all their feedback, and then I will run it as an online class in the future. That is my plan, and that will be opened up to other people, not just the people who were in this class, the class that was cancelled. I do have another one of the same in-person real-life class running in November, and the class that it is, I should show you this, is this here. And it's looking a bit crumpled because I took it with me on the weekend and it got a bit crumpled. So I will be running that in November as well. That class is full and I really don't know whether that's going to go ahead, but we'll just have to wait and see. Things could be very different by November. They could be an awful lot better and they could unfortunately be an awful lot worse. We just have no idea. My crystal ball skills aren't very good at the moment. Oh well. Now, the next thing that's cancelled, the Sydney Craft and Quilt Fair finally made an announcement yesterday that its new dates of the 1st to the 5th of September, it will not be able to go ahead. Now, I think all of us that knew about this had pretty much assumed that that was going to be the case, but we've now received official confirmation that that is the case. So I, in my last video, maybe the one before, I don't know, talked about the idea of doing an online show in lieu of that. Well, it's not happening now, the Sydney Craft and Quilt Fair, so I will be running my online show. I've got some plans, I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. So I think it's going to be called Yvette Stanton's Celebration of Stitching. It will probably run over 3 days, which will include a weekend. Now that does not mean that you'll be stuck in front of your computer for 3 days straight. I'm going to be posting videos during that time, which will be pre-recorded videos, so you can watch them whenever you want. Like, you don't have to sit there and watch them all as they come up. You can take the following weeks to watch them if you want. I'm not making you stick to your computer all weekend. That sounds like a horrible thing to have to do. I'm also planning to have some live sessions, some question and answer type sessions, and there may be one where I sit and stitch and you could perhaps stitch along with me in that session. We'll see. There's still a lot of thinking to be done about this. I've never done anything like it before, but I'd like to make a go of it, and I think it could be quite fun. And it means that rather than just being exposed to the audience that comes to Sydney Craft and Quilt Fair, I'll have an international audience, which is definitely a boon for those of you who would never have been able to come to the Sydney Craft and Quilt Fair. So that will happen, and I will let you know more about that as the dates firm up and as I get my act together with actually making it happening rather than just thinking about it. But thinking is important because I want to make it good. Right, now what else have we got? Okay, so the Whitework sampler from Frisian Whitework, which is this very long, beautiful thing. Many of you, or some of you, have been asking for fabric packs. Just like, I've got supplies packs for all the supplies to make this, but some of you have been asking just for the fabric itself because you've already got the thread. I haven't been able to do that until now, but now I have got enough of the fabric. It's been really hard for me to get because of COVID and shipping. Like, some shipping's working fine, other shipping is not working fine. And the shipping for this is not working fantastically, to get it to me, that is. So I've got some now, and I hope that I've got enough to be able to start selling it as just the pre-cut size for the sampler. So they are up on my website. Speaking of my website, I did a major overhaul, that's what I'm saying, of it just recently. The catalogue part of it, the shop part of it, was really bothering me. Like, we're visual people, and it was not very visual, some parts of it. So I have changed the front page from being a list of products, which is pretty boring, to being a full visual extravaganza. So there's photos of everything there now, and it actually looks really quite sumptuous and amazing, and it gives you such a better idea of what I have available. So you can just scroll through that whole thing, and there's a photo of each of the products, and you click on that and it'll take you to where you can buy it and tell you more about it at that linked spot. So I hope that's much more useful for you now, and it's much more easy for you to use. So there's that. Now, what else? I now also have just the thread packs for the silk sampler, which is that one. So that's the Frisian Whitework silk sampler from my book Frisian Whitework. So I have that available as full supplies packs, which has got fabric, the tea bag, the needles, and the beautiful Gumnut yarns. But some people have been saying, actually, I've got the fabric and I've got the needles. Can I just have the threads? So now you can just buy the thread packs. I've been tea dyeing some of the fabric for my class for that. And I wondered, would you be interested in having the full sampler supplies pack with the fabric already tea dyed? So if you're interested in that, please let me know. Like, some people are very confident with tea dyeing fabric and others are not. So if you're one of those people who is not and you would prefer to buy it tea dyed, just let me know and I can look at putting them up on my website as well. Right, what else have I got? Ah, yes, I wanted to talk to you about working with Gumnut Yarns Buds. So I was talking to one of my customers the other day and she said, I've never used that thread before. Do you have any tips for working with it? And I said, yeah, my tip is that it's a beautiful, beautiful thread. And unless you're a gardener and have very rough hands, you should be fine working with it. It's not a really delicate thread, so you don't have to use very short lengths. Because it is silk, and sometimes people think that silk is very, very delicate. Well, it's not always. So the Gumnut Yarns Buds are like a pearl cotton. Now I'm just going to go and get some and I'm going to come back. Okay, well that took me quite a while to find some of my skeins of Gumnut Yarns Buds, the ones that are mine, not the ones that I'm trying to sell. So I'm holding this on because I've actually already taken the staple out. So normally it's got a little staple in the end, but I've taken the staple out so that I can show you this much easier. It tells you on the tag what it is, and on the back it tells you the number so that you know what number it is. And it comes in a twisted skein like that. So I generally don't pull the tag off the end because sometimes that little staple can go through the threads, and therefore if you pull it off you're actually damaging the threads. So usually I take the staple out and take that off. Now I've got an older skein here that I'm actually more happy to cut up, and this one I've untwisted it so you get the full length. Hopefully you can see the full length or thereabouts there. I'll go right back. Yeah, that's better. Now you can see. And then I get my scissors and I cut through, I think this end, I cut through all of the loops. Hopefully that's all of them. If it's not all, then it's nearly all. And then I would take one strand away like that, and then I've got my length to use. Now I actually think that's probably a bit long, so most likely I'd be cutting it in half. That might be a bit short. No, I'd probably use about that. It is silk after all. So that's when you've cut all the ends, it's the full length, folded in half and cut through there again, and that's the length that I'm going to use. Now I will show you that because I don't want you to then think I'm using it doubled over. So therefore I've cut through that and I've got a single length, and that's the length that it is. So it's about, I have no idea, probably about 40 centimeters long. Now if I eventually decided that was too short, then I might go for the full length, but I really think the full length is going to be too long and it's going to get ratty looking too quickly. So when I'm using that, I would put it into a tapestry 24 needle and sew through the fabric with that. Now it is silk, so it is a delicate thread, but it's not something you need to do anything special with. It's like a pearl cotton, so it's a twisted thread, and it isn't like using multiple strands of a stranded floss or of a stranded silk. So you can just pop it in your needle with just the one strand and sew with that, and it's nice and easy to use. It is a lovely, lovely soft thread, really soft. And just the things to watch out for would be, don't let it get too fluffy. But if you're using a long length, it might. If you're using that short length that I showed you, you should be fine. Unless you undo quite a few times and reuse the thread, and then it's going to look more ratty by the time you get to the end of it. So I might stop using something that I've sewn and unsewn a few times. Now, was there anything else on my list? Oh, I've rearranged everything. I don't even know where my list has gone. Who knows? I think that's all I needed to say to you today. So thank you so much for joining me. If you have any more questions about any of the projects in my books or any of the other things that I've talked about today or previously, please just ask. I'm always happy to hear from you. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.